Hello and welcome to the Spiritual Solopreneur podcast. Today, my guest is Tiffany West. Tiffany is the creator and CEO of Interior Health Design LLC, an inner wellness life coaching company dedicated to deep soul care and holistic body-based healing. As a trauma certified emotional care coach, Tiffany has overcome many health challenges through emotional healing. She now empowers women to build the inner resilience to navigate emotional storms with confidence and grace. She's on a mission to help women break free from the cycles of shame and overwhelm, restore physical health, and transform pain into power and purpose. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, Bev. How
I
are you?
did I did make it through there.
You did great.
Stumbled a little bit there. Tiffany, I love the very last bit of that about transforming pain into power and purpose. That sounds very appealing and something that would be very helpful to a lot of people. So, I guess I'd like to start with how does that work and what does that look like?
Yeah, like many of us, pain was not what I woke up wanting to feel any day, let alone every day for almost 2 decades. And so it started as a child with a lot of emotional pain, but not really realizing that, just being told I'm very sensitive and I take things too personal and just not really understanding how to express or get my emotional needs met. It resulted in a lot of internal, what I like to call covert trauma, which is like the silent kind of pain that comes with not receiving what you need versus overt things happening to you. It's just more about what you didn't receive. Of course, as a kid, I didn't know that. So growing up, I always had tons of inner anxiety, but always wore the face of like everything's fine because I wasn't, why would you be upset or angry or sad about anything? You have a great life. So there was always just this internal conflict with how I felt, and how I had to present myself. And it just always felt like I wasn't being true to myself, which was very painful emotionally, and took up a lot of energy trying to play a part. And then as I got into my 20s, I started experiencing a lot of chronic physical pain. After I had my oldest when I was about 27, I came down with asthma, really bad eczema and allergies, and just had a slew of like boom, boom, boom health problems, chest pain, gastro issues. I got diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. My hair was falling out. I was had GERD, acid reflux, like so many things going on, and doctors were not able to help. I went through the ringer with Western medicine and holistic modalities. Spent lots of time, money, and energy trying to get to the bottom of what was wrong and what was paining me. And there was just really no diagnosis other than the ulcerative colitis. Everything else was like, we don't know why you're in the pain. Here's some anti-anxiety meds. Good luck with that.
Right, because
Um,
obviously all this physical pain is just exacerbating the original emotional upset.
it was an expression of the emotional
Mm,
pain that I had not been allowing myself to feel. And like many of us, we don't want to feel anger. We don't want to feel shame or sadness, or God forbid you feel and express anger. I mean, growing up for me, it was considered disrespectful. And my mom was really religious Christian, and it's just like anger is a no-no, right? Anger is dangerous. You put that away at all costs. And so my body started expressing anger and symptoms and screaming, and it had that emotional energy had to go somewhere. So I started my journey as a health coach when the doctors pretty much told me, here's some pain meds. Good luck for the rest of your life. I just remember feeling and hearing a voice saying, your diagnosis is not your destiny, and you get to decide. And that was when I created Interior Health Design. I wanted to learn how to really heal from the inside out. I had tried working out and eating healthy and doing all the outside in things, but that emotional pain was not touchable Didn't matter how
Right.
healthy I ate. It didn't matter how healthy my lifestyle was. I still felt like a shit show on the inside, but then had to cover it up. I worked in corporate and I was a single mom and I was in banking. So nobody could know that I was dying on the inside because there was just so much around presenting yourself. So living like that, not living my truth, I didn't realize that in the emotional pain, the emotions were the compass and basically the breadcrumbs guiding me back to my power and my truth. And I had to lean in and embrace the pain. And that is where I created my calm remedy because nothing in me was calm about accepting this pain and it not going away and getting louder over the years and more debilitating over the years and growing into other symptoms. It was extremely scary. No part of me wanted to lean into that, like embrace pain and there's power in it. No way. But I didn't realize so much power was going into fighting it to where I just got to a point where I was so exhausted and burnt out that I had to surrender to it. And that was the biggest blessing in disguise that
There
could have happened.
was there was so much energy going into hiding it
Yeah, and
that
stuffing it and
and
fighting it.
stuffing it down and trying to be normal. Yeah, so when you open your practice, did you start as a health coach, as in, nutrition and talk therapy and things like that, or did you hit go right to the emotional pain?
No, it was a path, it was a portal. So the pain kicked me into my own health journey. I was like, I figured it out. Food is medicine, like we all think. And then, I got results for a good year or so with myself and my clients. But then there would be these plateaus. We would go back to making the same old choices that put us in the same old bad habits. And it didn't matter how much we knew what was best. I kept seeing that it doesn't matter how much we know what we need to do, there's something in us that stops us from doing it or keeps us from doing it. So after working with mindset work and affirmations and doing the whole think and grow rich, I realized too with like manifesting and affirmations and spiritual practices, it still wasn't touching this core emotional invisible wounding. And so that's what really my spirit really guided me into emotional care and learning about trauma and how trauma presents itself in the body and shows up through physical symptoms. And I would have never thought I had a traumatic childhood. I mean,
Mm,
I was embarrassed to even share that I even had a trauma story because who am I to be saying all these covert things happen where people are really out here dealing with big overt physical, sexual, mental abuse, like verbal, like all kinds of things. And that wasn't my story. So, again, stuffing my truth, stuffing my story, minimizing it for years until my body started telling the story for me. So, that is what led me into the emotional care realm of really understanding what we need at a core level, at the
mhm.
root, to really work from the bottom up. And I found that
Right,
nutrition, diet, mindset, that comes in handy, but
mhm.
it's just later in the sequence. And so that's why I created a sequence that works.
Right. And of course, it's what most people do is it the other way.
Yeah.
Try all the physical things. That's logical. Go to a doctor, all that kind of stuff. Um, but I've heard from other guests that what happens is that stuff can work, affirmations and
It's all
vision boards
useful.
and the whole nine yards, and that's all good, and it does definitely help and it does definitely work, but it's not what they say is it doesn't stick. Um,
Sustain.
it doesn't sustain, and that's because there's this other core business going on.
Hmm.
And so for you, what was your truth? Was it that you had, we all have traumas, and I would be in the same boat. Like I haven't had anything what I would consider major, traumatically in my life. But if I were to think about it, I could probably add up a lot of things, and it might account for some of the sort of chronic things that I experience um, physically. So was that your truth, or was it that you need to share this, that you need to get? the word out about this?
Both and. I really
Mm.
want to speak for those who tell themselves this story. I had my childhood was fine. You know, my parents did the best they could, or I got my ass kicked or beat and I got whoopings and I turned out fine. It made me stronger. Anybody that is constantly saying this and this happened, but I'm fine, or I became stronger because of it, that was totally my story. And it's okay that your parents did the best they could and were not able to meet all of your needs. So, really, my story is more in helping people hone in on what was absent, what you didn't receive, some of that emotional neglect, and those emotional injuries are invisible. So, what I learned is like not all wounds are visible. And just because you can't see them doesn't mean that they are just going to go away. And
Right.
they're actually more dangerous because we don't realize they're there. And emotional wounds, just like if you left a physical wound untreated, it would cause some problems in the rest of your system. And so those emotional injuries really live in our biology. They're marked in our nervous system, and they're not ill-intended or malicious from our parents. Most of the time they are doing the best they can, and we get to come in and acknowledge where our systems didn't get the nurturing and the proper completion of those emotional energies and processing of those energies to where we can come in. And the beauty is we can give it to ourselves anytime. It's like these things happened in your childhood, but you could be well in your 40s, 50s, 60s, still healing those old wounds because that energy is still very much alive inside of you and waiting. It holds your power, it holds your authenticity. And that's where I learned emotions are messengers. They are not here to, they're not dangerous. We're just not taught how to feel them or what to do with them because we were taught the opposite. They can get us in trouble, or you shouldn't
Yeah.
be feeling that, and things like that. So that's where I really help people to really validate their emotional experience and honor. It's no jab against people doing the best they could with you, but it's also just more supporting of your needs and the things that you didn't receive that you needed to really thrive in all areas.
And is that what you mean by embracing the pain, like just acknowledging that, that it was there, in fact, and these things happened, and it's not good or bad. It's not you didn't have it any. You might have had it worse or better than other people. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
This It's your story. So just
Yeah,
realizing what your story is on that, and how those things are transformed into physical problems.
exactly. Physical symptoms. And also, what I learned too is emotional energy lives in our body. So, a lot of talk therapy treats us the psychology of everything, but emotions aren't happening in our head. That energy is living in our body and it's stored in our body and in our tissues. So when we're treating physical pain or treating it as a mental health diagnosis or a mental health symptom, we're missing the whole core of the nervous system that is playing out and kind of like mimicking our subconscious of saying, hey, there's this stored energy, there's this stored authenticity that you had to stuff down really early on, and it's your power wanting to come out. And because we're taught that physical pain is a problem, we don't understand that it's a message that our body is sending us, never to hurt us, but just to guide us back to our truth and guide us back to our power. But if we're not taught that, then how would we ever know? So, which
Ex-
is why I'm really excited to teach it.
Exactly. I love that emotions don't happen in your head. They,
So
they live in the body.
they do. And what we do is analyze, why do I feel like this? Or you ask a little kid, 2, 3 years old, what's wrong? Why are you sad? And all the message they're getting is one, I don't know, because I just feel this sensation of sadness. And two, let me figure out why I feel this way so I can get you an answer and feel safe that you now have an answer. And that's how we learn to just start analyzing. So a lot of times we're mistaking feeling our feelings for analyzing our feelings, and they're not the same.
Right. And other people trying to analyze our feelings,
and tell
which
us how we should and shouldn't feel. Yeah.
I mean, so often, you do something crazy that you would never do, and you're thinking, and somebody else says, "Why did you do that?" Okay, I don't know.
I don't know. And
Yeah,
that was that ever an acceptable answer? I know I couldn't. My mom would always say, I don't know is not an answer. You
right.
need to tell me. So then there's a lot of pressure and a lot of stress happening and another overwhelm in the nervous system of this little being that doesn't even have that executive functioning logic in their brain yet. That doesn't happen until we're 26. Our, prefrontal cortex is not fully developed with that executive, logical, critical thinking skill. So all we know is emotion when we're young. That's the only way we know how to express. And very early on, we are kind of given the message that it's not safe to have feelings. It's not okay. Your feelings are wrong. And it's definitely not okay to express them. So you got to
Exactly.
find a way to bottle that up and show up in a way that makes me feel comfortable, makes me look good. So I'm a parent, so I've
Exactly.
had that, no judgment. Like I've been that way with especially my oldest before I started doing this work. And I caught on really early. So the cool thing is there's always room for repair. It's never too late, but we all do it. So there's no judgment.
Exactly. Very
Yeah.
cool. So, what kind of tools do you use to help people get to their truth?
Yeah, so I've created what I call my calm remedy. And it really is literally like an energetic elixir. And so it's a four-step framework that I use to come out of many dark night of the soul where doctors really were at a complete loss. And I had all of my eggs in their basket, like we all do. Like if you're the doctor and you can't help me, whoa, like talk about
Yeah.
like I feel hopeless. I don't know if there's any hope for me. So what I started to learn is trauma, no matter what form it comes in, it disconnects us from our body because we're feeling these emotions in our body that the brain sees as dangerous and a threat to our life. So we learn to stuff them and survive. So we disconnect from the body and get real heady. And we learn that in school, focus on your education, think your way through things, analyze things, just very, very big in our society on being smart and educated, which again, nothing wrong with it. It's just when we're doing that, not connected to our bodies, then we're missing out on a whole nother realm of wisdom that our body and our emotions bring to the table to help the brain execute on a lot of this education and knowledge. So, first step in the calm remedy is to connect with your body. Many of us have lived disconnected because the body doesn't feel safe. So, it's just about practicing being present, becoming aware, like you said, oh, I actually have a body. I'm not just a head thinking my way through life. And my mind and my body can be on the same team. They don't have to be working against each other, which is exhausting. So that connection is bridging that gap. And then you're just becoming the observer and noticing your sensations without judging and trying to change and make them wrong. So that is like the first layer of calming down the system enough to just really allow what is present without fighting it. And then the A is to affirm what you feel and validate that. Yes, I feel pain in my body. I feel tightness in my back. Then emotionally validating those emotions. When I feel this pain, when I notice this sensation in my body, I feel sad or I feel angry, and to allow yourself to feel that. That's what we didn't get as kids. So that validation, meeting yourself with empathy versus criticism, and showing compassion. And then the L is to listen with curiosity. So just be really open to embracing the discomfort because pain will give us a knee jerk reaction of like, ooh, don't want to go there. Let me fight it. But it's the actual fighting of emotions and fighting of physical sensation that creates suffering. When we can learn to gently embrace that over time, you don't want to do like jump fully in the pool, but slowly start to build your capacity to embrace that. Then you can hear the deeper cry for attention, what your body really is telling you, and like really listening and attuning to acquiring understanding and gathering more information about, okay, well, what could my body be telling me and how is this here to serve me? And then the M is to manage your mind and all those stories and beliefs and thoughts and reactions that you've known and all you've grown up with. to start to challenge that a little bit and ask yourself, does this align with how I want to feel? Does this feel kind? Does this feel helpful? Does this feel like this is helping me or not serving me? And once you start to manage your whole process, it opens you up to meeting your sovereign divine self that does have the answers, that does know, and that does offer the love and compassion that many of us are usually seeking when our emotional needs aren't met. So the calm remedy just really helps create a foundation of safety so that you can start to process those emotions that haven't been felt safe to feel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. Do you use any sort of hypnotherapy or meditations or journaling, something like that, to
I
help
get
people
into that
through?
later.
Mm,
I get into that later. What I personally found with that is there's this sneaky way that modalities and tools, let's say you were on a desert island and you didn't have access to anything. Your blender, you couldn't do your green smoothies, you didn't have your journal, you just it was just you, your body, your emotions, and whatever was around you. Um, this is where I found the calm remedy to be most effective because I used to do EMDR and EFT and meditations and hypnotherapy and journaling,
okay.
all of it with an agenda to feel better and to make things go away. And what I learned with my calm remedy is when we want things to go away, the emotions, the pain, there's little parts of us, like our younger selves, inner children that we have that get the message when we're, because they're the ones calling out for the attention. They're the ones needing the healing that they didn't get way back when. So when we try to make these things go away, what we're telling them is we want you to go away. And so that from a place of not acknowledging and connecting with the body and not getting embodied first and really giving these parts the emotional nurturing that they need, when we're disembodied and disconnection and we're trying those modalities, it's in an effort to fix ourselves. And the body is like, I'm not broken. I'm
Right.
trying to talk to you and we just speak different languages. And so the calm remedy helps you really understand your body's language and get embodied and embrace all that is and accept and allow all that is. And then from that foundation, now you can bring in all your modalities, your healthy eating, all of that stuff. It can actually stick because now you're connected and you're embodied in the healing and your truth versus trying to do those things from a place of fear and from trauma.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic. I love the way you described the disconnect, the disconnection. I get it. I've been hearing that a lot, but just the way you described it there, I finally get it that the your brain versus your body. So the disconnect is there because your brain is not acknowledging what is going
Well,
on.
yeah, and it does that in an effort to protect us.
Right.
So a lot of mindset work, you're battling with your brain, you're battling with your thoughts, you're trying to change them. You're basically trying to change the very nature and design of our brain. Our brain is online to protect us from threats and danger. So everything that comes into our brain is programmed and not always aligned with our truth. So it's up to us to get into our bodies and make that connection and help see the brain as well intended, but also be in our divine wisdom to kind of be a sovereign leader over the brain, over the body, so that you can bring in the actual infinite resources to be like, hey, the brain is a tool that got programmed. So there's a lot of unwiring that has to happen so the brain can be programmed more in our truth. And it's not protecting us from threats that aren't actually real threats to our life, but the brain doesn't know any different if that's all we've experienced. So it
Sure.
just comes to those conclusions naturally. So befriending the brain
Yeah.
is what I teach a lot on too, because it's like we can't change our thoughts. Like it just working at that level is like wrestling a bull. Like it's crazy. However, when we can work with creating safety in our biology is going to influence our psychology. And then our brain is just going to follow suit once it feels safe with what the body is leading with.
Yeah. Beautiful. You have some clinical background, I think, too.
I went to school for psychology.
Mm,
and learned very quickly that wasn't quite the road that resonated most with me. I wasn't a fan of diagnosing and labeling and putting people, this is what's wrong with you. Let me write you a prescription. I'm not saying that that's bad. And I think that those are good temporary fixes to help stabilize the body and the mind. But just as an end all treatment, it's really not helping people connect with the power and embrace that power in their emotions by knowing how to build their emotional resilience to feel your emotions and be free from having to numb them.
Yeah. Um, is there any are there particular types of physical conditions or ailments that, that people might be experiencing and think, oh, they might be experiencing something and then think, oh, I wonder if Tiffany can help me. Is there are we talking mostly about chronic conditions or back pain or and I guess as an offshoot from that, I mean, is there any such thing as just catching a cold or, from a virus or something, or is there always some underlying
Yeah.
situation?
Yeah, great question. I personally believe, but I'm no doctor and,
Hmm.
no guru, but I do believe in my experience and with my clients, there is always going to be an underlying energetic and emotional component that is attracting the circumstances that show up as physical symptoms, right? But if you're experiencing any kind of dis-ease, whether it be physical, mental, emotional, even rippling out into your relationships, into your confidence in your work, or maybe you're running a business and you're having a hard time being seen, anything that makes you feel trapped and not free to just fully be yourself or fully be in good health or whatever your desires are, that is where I help you get to the root really quickly of not trying to get rid of the emotion, but really tapping into the power and bringing more of your authenticity into play
Hmm.
so that you're not having to figure everything out in your head and hustle and rely on outside sources that help your body when you are in it, and you are the best resource for your body once you learn your body's language and what it needs to
Right.
be healed, right?
Are the root causes, can they be past lives or ancestral or something like that?
I do believe what gets passed down through ancestry, past lives, is the behaviors and the lack of emotional awareness that gets passed down through family lines. It's the lifestyles and the habits and some of the dysfunctional patterns in the family lines in the name of love and in the name of keeping their kids and everybody safe. But it's really coming from this unhealed, unacknowledged trauma that people don't associate that having to do with their health or that having to do with their mental state, when actually our biology is driving everything. Our nervous system is the core system impacting all of the rest of our systems and our health. So, yeah.
So even though that there could have been something that happened in a past life or whatever, but it we can actually address it in this life.
Now,
Yeah,
hmm
yeah.
yeah. And I used to do a lot of that, and it would overwhelm the crap out of me because it's like, well, what happened and when was it and what life? Right?
Was I a king?
Yeah, was I queen? Like, what was going on? Was I the villain? Like, is this karma? Like, all of that. And again, it's a very savvy way the brain will get us back into analyzing and thinking to get us out of the body because, again, we haven't trained and taught the brain that the body actually is the safest place. We just have to create that sense. So, whatever's coming up, this is the best way to simplify all of this. Everything happening in your life, whether it be your health, your relationship, your finances, you name it, if it creates an emotional reaction, right? So the main groups of emotions to keep this easy, if you feel angry, if you feel scared, or if you feel sad, that is your clue and your body's way of leading you back through that emotion, letting your emotion be your compass to, ooh, there's some anger stored in here that needs to be felt. And as long as it's stored and frozen, it's creating symptoms to get your attention. And so that's what my clients love about my work is we just cut through all the fat. We don't need to know what happened at this date or what lifetime. We just know something happened and what's reflecting in your life today is shining a light on the emotion that needs attention. And then we go in and I teach you how to actually process and digest that emotion in a really safe way, reclaim your power, be more embodied in your truth, and then you can get on to live in your best life because that's how you really free yourself from all these things keeping you from everything you desire.
That's fantastic.
It's
Um,
fun.
do you have can you give us, without divulging anything you shouldn't divulge, but an example of, something, a client outcome that kind of sticks with you?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've got a client and she came to me with paralyzing anxiety, um, in horrible relationships. She was going out of college and going into, or out of high school, going into college, having a full-blown identity crisis because she wanted to please her parents. Society says you're supposed to go to college, but nothing, everything in her spirit was like, that's not the route for me. That doesn't feel aligned with my truth, but I'm too afraid to honor my truth. And she felt really trapped. She was on anxiety medication, depression medication. After about a year of us really creating the safety, helping her come home to her body in a way that felt safe to her system, so very incrementally, she's thriving now. She decided not to go to school. She is able to work with her parents and let them own their emotions about it, and she still own her truth about it, and then manifesting all kinds of things that she desires now that she's understanding life isn't happening to me. Life is happening for me, reflecting the emotions that I just need to feel to reclaim more of my power and be more embodied in my truth. So her anxiety, she's just not even feeling it. She's sleeping at night. Her health is improved. Like it's just like, whoa, about to get married. She was terrified to
Oh,
get into more relationships. So she just got really embodied in who she is and felt safe enough to express that. And that is really where a lot of us are not experiencing freedom to be ourselves. We have to play the role. We have to act like we're okay when we're not. We have
exactly.
to fight our feelings. Yeah.
And was she able to know what she did want? She kind of had it in her body. She felt that this school thing is not right. Did she know what she did want, or did that come through during the process?
It comes through during the process. So I tell my clients we're going on a treasure hunt.
Mm.
And so nobody wants to just hear, okay, we're going to heal your trauma. Like trauma just feels like such a dark, no, but people are going to run from the hills when you say that. But when I'm like, ooh, but there's treasure in it, right? And that treasure is little pieces of you and more information about what you desire that you had to stuff down. So no, she didn't know what she wanted. She just knew what wasn't working and what she didn't want. And so it was a matter of really trusting in this divine body wisdom and this guidance that the logic was not able to like pave the way. So there was a period of like unidentifying with herself as she knew herself, like her protective survival
Mm.
self,
Mhm.
the self that she had to be to fit in with the world and get approval from her parents and the love that she needed, to being really unidentified and being in this middle area of like, I know what I don't want, but I don't know who I am without that identity. And I don't know what I actually want. It was really scary for her. So we still would keep planting roots and growing those down in the calm remedy to really help her be with those emotions, not see them as a threat so she could deepen her roots in who she was. And then as time went on and she continued to plant these seeds, then she started getting more divine direction as she listened to her emotions and felt them and used them as a compass instead of something that she felt like she had to fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So interesting. She had to sort of unravel what was there to begin with and tr start with a flat surface in a
Yeah,
way.
it's like we have to like get from under all the debris, and that's life, and it's being born, and just all these covert traumas, like even just the birthing process in and of
Sure.
itself, puts an impact on the nervous system and implements a lot of fear in our system. We don't feel safe. So things that are just totally out of our control And we're basically, the journey is to remember who we are and use our emotions as the compass to get to the treasures that are buried within our trauma. But when we do that, the reward is like exponential, right? Because
Yeah.
then we're like, ooh, this is my truth. And now I'm realizing I have desires that I would have never even been brave enough to admit, let alone go out and fulfill. And keep and have. So those are the treasures that we get to find when we heal, and there is a reward in the healing process. And what I've learned is healing is not the destination. Healing is the journey. And for myself, I was like, okay, I've been healing for all these years. Then what? Like, what happens now? I'm kind of tired of just healing. And I realized, like, coming into finding more of my treasures, the destination is freedom. We all just want to be
Yeah.
free, free to be ourselves, do what we want to do, and have what we desire to have. And that's really what I help people get, is to that freedom path.
Beautiful. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, because you quite often will hear, well, it's the journey that's the important thing. Yeah, but okay, but I got to get somewhere.
Where are we going?
Where
Because to
exactly are we
be on a
going?
trip and not know where we're going, that is
Yeah.
really unsettling. And I
Yeah,
was like that for years. Oh, it's about the journey, not the destination. But actually, it is all about both.
sure.
It's about the journey and becoming the person that you've always been, but remembering to really embody and be who you want to be so you can do those things from an embodied place of your truth and not your trauma. And
Yeah.
then get to your destination, which is to be free. And then it's exciting because then it makes the healing make sense.
Yeah,
But
exactly. Exactly.
there's
It
an
all
end
comes
goal.
together. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, Tiffany, this has been fantastic. I'm gonna pull a card. I have these
Yeah,
Rose Oracle. This is it's going to be backwards, I suppose, but
I
um,
see it. It looks
you
right.
do. It's okay, perfect. This is a deck given to me by my friend Ashara,
Ooh, I'm
and
excited.
so we'll just see. Sometimes the cards have a way of resonating with what we've been talking about, or maybe they just want to deliver a message to whoever
I'll
is
take
out
it. I'm
there.
here for
We'll
all of
we'll
it. So
take it. Yeah, I like cards. All right. This is my special shuffling mechanism.
I love it.
I'm cutting the cards.
So excited.
Okay. You on top of there and you on top of there. Okay. The Great Mother. Surrender to the mystery. Fall into her arms. The Great Mother. Your inner being, where you're trying to get to. And it's saying surrender to the mystery. Yes, it might be scary, but
It is scary.
it's you can just fall in.
You really can. And that fear is nothing to fear, right? Like that fear is going to lead you into more of who you are. And when you that I love that,
That's pretty
just
cool.
surrendering into divine support really is like,
Exactly. The
yeah, we
Great
can let go of
Mother.
who we think we need to be and go ahead and be who we came here to be, who we are, right?
I'm ready to embrace the extremes of my life. I lay all that I'm carrying onto the altar and fall into the Great Mother's arms.
Oh, that sounds so relaxing.
It
Yeah.
does. It's
And we don't have
very
to do it all and hold it all up and be strong all the time. Like, no,
exactly. Exactly.
love it. Yes, I received that big time,
Me
big
too.
time.
Me too.
Totally
Beautiful.
resonate. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Tiffany. It's been wonderful having you and extremely inspiring. Where can people get hold of you to come and get in touch with you and book a session or
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Tiffany Coach Me. I'm on Facebook, Tiffany West in Aurora, Colorado. There's a lot of us. So make sure to put the city and state.
okay.
And yeah, I do a free 45-minute wake up call where we really wake you up to all of your deepest desires that you're not admitting. And then I help you find your calm and your freedom path to be able to remove anything in the way, keeping you from everything you want. And so we do that in a really fun way, going on a treasure hunt. So
Yeah, beautiful. I love a treasure hunt. Okay.
me too. You get to find you.
Yeah, even better. Well, thank you again so much.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll talk to you again soon, okay?
All right.
Okay, bye.
Bye.